99.9 Punk World Radio FM. You guys already know what time it is. And right here, right now, we are actually live and we got a member of a phenomenal band. That's right. We got the follow-ups right here live on the radio and, of course, YouTube and Facebook as well. How are you doing this evening?
I've never been better. Thank you. Yourself?
Oh, man, doing best I can possibly be down here in Canada. Just enjoying the weekend and trying to stay out of trouble.
Good luck. Good luck.
But I gotta ask, man, because obviously, you've been a member of this band for so long, man. But obviously, I know you probably have a history within the punk rock community outside of the follow-ups. Like, what actually really got you into punk rock originally, inspired you to actually pursue a career within the music industry?
Mostly just being a wrong-thinking asshole most of my life, and then I found eventually there was music that coincided with that. So when I was young, I was into, and actually, funny enough, I've really full circle come back around lately. I'm super into like mid 80s LA sleaze rock. And that was the stuff I really loved as a kid that first kind of made me, I wanted to be the guys with the big hair and the lipstick and the very effeminate rocker look of the mid 80s, all the badasses in glam. Yeah. And then so eventually, I just liked harder heavy music, and eventually was introduced to things like the Sex Pistols and the Ramones, and then I realized there was really angry music by other assholes out there that thought different things like I did.
Hey, man, you can never go wrong with the Sex Pistols or the Ramones, man. They will always be solidified within punk rock.
Yeah, it also speaks to my age a little bit, I guess, but
hey, you can never go wrong with the Pioneers, man. Honestly, and at the end of the day, they actually make some pretty damn good music that still is relevant even relevant to today's society as well.
Yeah, I've never heard of the Pioneers. What are some releases of theirs I should check out?
Oh, I mean, I just listen to the older stuff, to be honest with you. Like, I don't even know if they still make music, to be honest with you.
I'm just kidding. I should have given you a disclaimer right out of the gate to not take a lot of what I say seriously.
But also, as well, as we already know, you're a member of this phenomenal band, the Follow-Ups. If you don't mind me asking, man, what is the story behind this band? And of course, like, what actually made you yourself and the rest of the members come together as one to form what we know today as the Follow-Ups?
I appreciate that you keep calling us phenomenal, because I wouldn't necessarily put us under that category, but they're gracious words, so thank you. I've played in bands all my life. I've always written music, and it had been a few years since my last project, and I had a handful of songs, and was just looking for people to throw a band together to play them with. Tyler, the guitar player, and I are actually a Kijiji personal love connection. We met each other through there. He had an ad looking to start a band, and what caught my eye with his post was he mentioned something about a band in the spirit of a couple of bands, but he said something about SNFU, which really stuck out to me. I'm a huge fan of SNFU. So anyway, we ended up meeting, which is funny because we're both like major introverts. So we put off the meeting like 3 or 4 times. We each canceled on one. But then one day we both had the balls to each show up, and we became friends really, really quickly. And Greg, our drummer, he and I had been in a little cover project together. So I kind of snuck him over to play drums, and Jamie, our bass player, was playing in a former iteration of this band that never really got off the ground. But Jamie and I have been friends for years and years anyway. Our bands from 15, 20 years ago were friends, so we've known each other forever. I had a bunch of songs and tricked all those guys into playing them with me, and here we are.
And also, when you actually mentioned a few moments ago how you actually met one of the members on Kijiji, I'm sure you probably had other individuals that hit you up as well. Have you experienced any crazy horror stories from Kijiji? Because I've heard some like back page type stuff, man, with some bands actually putting listings up that they get quite a bit of different kind of characters. We should actually say the least of that actually really auditions for certain bands.
Yeah, no personal stories like that, but I do know of a an ex buddy of mine, an ex acquaintance, who I think it was on Kijiji when they used to have like the personals and the hookup app or whatever. Anyway, long story short, he ended up getting mugged by a chick and some dude one night. That he
Yeah, that's definitely some messed up stuff. You know what I mean? Because it could be anybody behind that phone as well, man. So I'm glad you actually met somebody that actually did. Sorry, you met someone that actually is who they actually said they were.
Yeah, well, he is a bit of a pervert and a weirdo, but that's all.
And also on April 20th of 2018, you guys actually released the amazing 8-track album titled "The Half of It." I was wondering if you could actually tell us a bit more about this album, and of course, where can we actually stream it today in 2023?
It's still on all of our streaming services. You can get it on Spotify and Apple Music. It's on Bandcamp as well. That album was just supposed to be a demo, really, and um, really quickly after we had recorded it, Tyler had somehow gotten in contact with these guys out of California that were a fledgling label, No Affiliation Records, I think they were called. And they wanted to release it for us for whatever reason. So what was just supposed to be our demo became our first release in our EP. So
It's always cool when labels like that actually reach out. That's one thing I've noticed within the punk rock community, that a lot of individuals really like uplifting other bands, and it's a big unity within punk rock. And it's really cool that labels out there are actually trying to get independent bands like yourself really out there by releasing your guys' albums.
yeah, some of them are really great. And I mean, it's funny to be able to tell people that you're on a label from California when you're a shitty little band from Atlantic Canada. But at the end of the day, it's like two guys in their dad's garage or whatever. And it folded pretty quickly. Uh, I like to make note of the fact that this band and former band were both responsible for folding record labels. So that's an accomplishment I'm proud of.
And also as well, you guys actually have been associated with another label as well, Mom's Basement Records. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about that label, and of course, how did you guys actually ultimately get connected with them?
Mom's has been great. John is a fantastic dude. He's got a great stable of bands. When we were recording our second release, once we were done recording, we were shopping it really hard, trying to find a label to put it out for us, which we never ultimately did do. And we released it independently just on our own label. But not too long after it was out, we crossed paths with John. I don't recall exactly how, but he was interested in helping us distribute the album. So he has a subsidiary, I guess, of the label called Mom's Cellar Dwellers, where he helps different independent bands just with distribution, which helps, being associated with the label, sort of on the farm team, so to speak. So our next release is slated to be released on Mom's Basement, actually. And I believe it may be being co-released as well by Faster and Louder Records here out of Ontario as well. So.
And also as well, in 2021, you guys actually teamed up with a fellow band, Dave Rocket and Dave Rocket and the Jobbers, to release the split vinyl record. I was wondering, how did you guys actually get connected with Dave Rocket? And of course, what was it like just working alongside them for this particular project?
So that's all Jordan's fault from Faster and Louder. He knew Dave and the guys. We didn't really know them at all, but he had approached us with the idea of doing the split. Not my favorite release of ours necessarily, but Jordan's a great dude, and he worked really, really hard to promote the record for Dave and the guys, and for us as well. Got us a lot of radio play and things like that. And I think he sold a pretty respectable number of the 7 inches. He brought us out to Ontario. We finally got to go back on the road after the whole world burning down for the last couple of years. We had plans to go out on the road prior to that, but of course they got squashed. So long story short, we finally got to make that trip just not too long ago in the fall. Jordan brought us out and lined us up some shows, so we actually got to play with and meet Dave and the guys, which was pretty cool. We got a couple of cool pictures with them and stuff, like a old timey wrestling off shot of like band in their band, which is pretty neat memento to have. So but that's one of the fun things about being in a band and traveling and, you know, meeting different people and becoming friends with people across the country and in different countries as well. So,
And when you mentioned a few moments ago how you guys actually traveled Ontario, what cities did you actually hit here in Ontario? And of course, like, well, what was it like actually being on that particular tour? Like, was that the only time you've actually ever been way out here? Out east here in Ontario?
I wish the other guys would arrive, because I'm not like the guy who remembers things all the time. I'm not the detail guy. I made an arrangement a long time ago with the other members of the band that we have an understanding that my role is to write songs, and like I've got a lot of other stuff going on. I've got a pretty high level career. I've got a couple of kids and that I'm half part-time raising on my own and stuff. So I've got a lot of other responsibilities. So in terms of like promotion and that, I don't realistically have the time to do it. So thank goodness Greg and Tyler and Jamie are really good at with that end of things. So I think London might have been the only place we played in Ontario. I think we hit a couple of spots in Quebec on the way up. And then wheeled around and came back. And I don't know that we've been that far out previously. Like, we've been to Quebec a few times. We've been to where did we play? There was a festival that we played a couple of years back. Can't remember what it was called, but it was actually in Brantford, and that's where Tyler's from. So we got hooked up to play. Can't remember what the name of the fest was, but because it was his hometown, he ended up getting in touch with the organizer of the event, and we played down there. So we have been to Ontario before, but again, my memory's foggy about a lot of things. So yeah.
Hey, it's all good, man. At the end of the day, if I had such a busy life like you, I'm pretty sure I would forget the little things as well. So, but no worries on that one.
It's got nothing to do with recreational drug use, as long as I understand that.
Hey, at the end of the day, when people get busy, people get busy. Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, sometimes you forget things. But also as well, August 13th of 2022, so just last summer, you guys actually released, and honestly, I gotta say, an amazing single titled About to Drown. I was wondering if you can tell us a bit more about this single. And of course, actually, where can we actually buy or stream it today?
Yeah, so that was a one-off. We were approached by Paul from the Ripcords about being on a release he was doing of current punk bands across Canada, covering punk bands of yesteryear. And of course, there were like a couple of staple Canadian bands that were kind of faux pas to do, right? Like, no one could really do an song or a DOA song or any of like the main Canadian punk bands that had gotten a lot of notoriety. It was more like underground bands now paying homage to underground bands of yesteryear. So we chose a Furnace Face song. It was an influential band of mine when I was like really, really young and just starting to get into punk rock. And Jamie, our bass player, is really, really old, so he was familiar with the band well. So yeah, we chose About to Drown, which is an old Furnace Face tune. It was off a record of theirs called Just Buy It. which is, it was a punk rock record, but kind of like interesting alternative punkish. Anyway, they were out of Ottawa, so we chose that song to do, recorded it in Monton with our buddy Jeremy, who plays in a band called Three Speed, who are awesome. He plays in like 17 other bands too that I can't remember the name of. Dogs Not Gods is another. Anyway, he recorded it for us, and we got permission from the guys from Furnace Face to cover it, which was cool for me to actually dialogue with guys from a band that I was a fan of when I was, yay big, and sort of looked at touring bands as this, unobtainable goal, and kind of thought of them as, semi-level rock stars, which is, funny because they're just humble everyday guys like everybody else that plays in a band. But yeah, they were cool covering it, and so it was released on the records. I think it's called Punk Canada Volume 1. I think it's available on like Bandcamp, streaming services, Spotify, and things like that. Today we have copies of the records that we have when we tour and stuff. We sell them at shows, and they're available from all the other bands as well across the country that were on the record. So I can't think of a ton of them right offhand. I know the Ripcords are on it as well. So, but there are various record stores across the country that have it, and yeah, it's streamable on major streaming services as well.
And also, I know you brought up this topic briefly earlier on in the interview, but on February 26th, you guys actually announced via Instagram that you guys just officially finished the new record. I was wondering if you can actually tell us a bit more about this particular album, and of course, what can we actually expect from it when it does drop to the general public?
What I can tell you is, I'm super impressed by your level of research, and I assume it's all accurate, but of course I don't remember things, so I couldn't call you out on it. You could just be making up random dates and nod and smile. So it's funny you have a much better recollection of things in our band than I do necessarily.
I'm going to be honest with you. If it wasn't written down, I probably wouldn't. I probably wouldn't remember my questions. I'd be like, "Oh God, what was I going to ask this man again?"
Follow-ups, yeah. And the other thing I find humorous is you mentioning Instagram. So like I mentioned earlier, I don't do any of the promotion or the social media or the PR stuff. So I don't even have an Instagram on any of my devices. But it is true that we did finish the new record. We're just waiting for mixes back to see if there are any small tweaks or changes that we need to make before having it mastered for digital and vinyl. Really glad to have it in the can and done. Most of the songs on it were pre the world burning to the ground. A lot of them were ready to go, and then of course that threw a big wrench in things. So sitting on a pretty much ready to roll album for 2 years kind of sucked, and I'm sort of tired of most of the songs by now, right? Dealing with them for a long time. Some of them came along and are a bit newer throughout the process, and of course there were changes and tweaks and things added to them, but glad to have it done for sure, so we can look forward at moving on to the next thing. We've already got a couple of ideas of some stupid things that we can do, so I've got a couple of other newer songs that I'm working on that we're set to start demoing once we finish with the record. So we're just waiting on the mixes back, and the art is being worked on by our buddy Ole O'Brien from a band out of Germany called the Evil O'Briens. His art is fantastic. He worked with a couple of compilations that we were on that I feel terrible and like an asshole because I can't remember the name of every label and every person that we worked with because my memory is shit. Council Pop released a couple of Ramones core records. So there's a volume in Volume 2. So they were different bands across the globe that are loosely associated to the quote-unquote Ramones core pop punk sound. Anyway, so long story short, Ollie did the art on those, which was fantastic. So we reached him to do the artwork on the new record. So it's close. It's close.
And before we actually part ways this evening, I have to ask, man, is there anything we actually missed during this evening's interview? Anything else you do still want to talk about or promote? Well, we still got you here live on 99.9 Punk World Radio FM this evening.
The only two things that you missed in your extensive research, I guess, were we were part of a Queers tribute record actually not too long ago, which was really cool. Again, bands from all over the world, and we got to cover See You Later Fuckface, which is a personal favorite of ours for that project. And we also, while the world was burning down, we kind of remotely also did a little EP, a couple of cover songs from bands that we did a Gob song, and then we did an old Corey Hart song, and we covered a song by a band called Latte out of Italy that we're friends with, and then we threw a live songs of ours on there and just released it as a free digital EP. Kind of the highlight of it was the Corey Hart that night cover that we did, and we shot a video for that and stuff. So anyway, but yeah, aside from that note, just waiting for the new record to come out. Nothing really announced yet. We're playing in the summer as part of a New Brunswick Punk Fest in Fredericton. There's actually some really notable bands on the bill. Actually, Teenage Bottle Rock coming down, the Queers are playing, DOA's playing. So it's pretty cool to be involved with that. So that's, really the next things that are coming down the pipe for us is getting this record out and actually on vinyl and in hand, and looking forward to playing that show in the summer. So.
And I got to say, first and foremost, thank you so much for just giving us a bit of your time here on this Saturday evening and just talking about your amazing band and all the great stuff that you've actually done. Me, as a fan of the follow-ups, I'm super excited to hear this new album when it does drop. But I got to say, man, again, thank you so much for your time, and hopefully down the line we can make this happen again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Listen, I appreciate you having, me on. Sorry the other guys never showed up. I don't know if there was some sort of tragedy that happened while they were in transit. Thanks for having me on, and all of the nice adjectives that you used to describe our band. Thanks for being a fan. My whole thing with writing songs has always been like I just write music for me. I write songs I like, and I always figured, you know what, somebody out there probably likes too. So it's nice to come across those people.
Hey, you know what? And no need to apologize for the other members. You definitely held it down for the whole band, and it was such an honor speaking with you. And honestly, like I said, you guys got some amazing music. I've been a huge punk rock fan for a long time, so it's good to actually hear bands like yourselves still keep the actual original essence of punk rock within their music. So if you keep making them, we here at 99.9 FM are going to keep spinning them.
Well, we're going to make them as long as I've always said with songwriting, it's not really up to me, right? As long as the universe keeps putting them in my brain and I have to keep getting them out, then we're going to keep being a band. So, but appreciate it for sure. And thanks for having us on.
Hey, you're most certainly welcome. Definitely have yourself a phenomenal night and, of course, a kick-ass weekend as well.
Excellent. Thank you.